our tradition to stand for a moment of silence before the Pledge of Allegiance. And today, on behalf of the council and our staff and the whole city of Burnsville, we want to express that what we experienced this weekend was devastating in the tragic shootings of our Minnesota legislators, Representative Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman and Senator John Hoffman and their spouses. We extend our deepest condolences to the victims and their families, and our prayers are with them as they journey through this difficult time of grief. And so as we stand for a moment of silence and we invite you to join us, please remember them in your thoughts and in your silent prayers. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Members of the public are always welcome to attend our meetings in person, and we welcome all of you. The public may also choose to watch these meetings at burnsvillemn.gov/meetings or Comcast channel 16 or 859. The public can also participate through Zoom by joining us at zoom.us/join. More information is available on our meetings webpage and in the council's agenda packet. The first item on our agenda is the announcements this evening, and we also have a report from our library. But before we do that, as part of the announcement, on behalf of our city council and our staff, we want to thank all of our law enforcement personnel, including our Burnsville tactical team, who worked hard to find and apprehend the suspected killer. We are truly grateful for their dedication, valor, courage, and excellence in policing. Please know how much we appreciate all of you and know that we are deeply grateful. Thank you. And now for our announcements. Our upcoming meetings, regular scheduled council meetings, are for Tuesday, July 8th at 5:30 p.m. and Tuesday, July 22nd at 5:30 p.m. We have a work session that's scheduled for Tuesday, July 15th at 5:30 p.m. We have a budget work session that's scheduled for department budget presentations for Tuesday, July 15th at 6:30 p.m. We have a capital improvement plan that's scheduled for Tuesday, July 22nd at 6:30 p.m. All meetings of the Burnsville City Council are held here in the council chambers. And then tonight, we are pleased to have Mr. Chad Lubers from our Burnhaven Library to give us an update. Mr. Luber, welcome.
Madam Mayor, council members, thank you for the opportunity to be here again this evening. My name is Chad Lubers, and as you mentioned, I'm the manager of Dakota County's Burnsville Library. Now, as I've done in previous years, I wanted to stop by tonight just to give you a brief recap or summary of what the library has been up to this past year and then what you can look forward to in the year ahead. Starting things off here, general statistical summary of the library's activities last year. So we checked out just over 200,000 items to residents. Just over 500,000 items to residents with over 230,000 visits And then the new statistic for this year, we had just under 17,000 residents use the library for public meeting space. On top of that 16,984, we also had about 7,200 customers or residents stop by the library to borrow one of our private study rooms. So we have a lot of college kids, we have a lot of business owners, a lot of moms and dads who sometimes just need a few minutes of personal time to do whatever work they need to do, who come to the library and use one of our study rooms. Very solid numbers for this past year. I'm absolutely thrilled. In fact, the meeting room usage that we had this past year was higher than any of the other libraries in Dakota County. That's pretty notable considering that the Egan Library and the Apple Valley Library are both substantially busier than we are. 2024 was also a strategic planning year for Dakota County Library. And every 3 to 5 years that we do a strategic plan, we have very high-level goals, which is what you're seeing right here today, and then a number of different strategies and tactics where we actually implement those strategic plan goals. So our goals for this coming 3 to 5 year cycle is to cultivate belonging at the library, deliver accessible and enriching collections, and then increase awareness of library services. Councilmember Gustafson, I think a few meetings ago, you had mentioned seeing the library at a lot of different community events. One of the reasons that we try to get out into the community so frequently is that we catch the customers, the residents in Burnsville who we don't necessarily see at the library on a regular basis. And it gives us the opportunity to touch on goal number 3 here, which is to increase awareness of what it is we do at the library. Something else to mention from this past year, library self-service hours. So for any council members, any residents at home that weren't aware of this, the library is now available for service from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., 365 days of the year. Wow. There's a special library card that you have to get in order to have access to the library during those non-staffed hours. But over the course of 2024, we had over 500 residents in Burnsville sign up for these new library cards. And we had just under 11,000 visits. One of the biggest users that we are seeing at the library in these before hours or after hours sessions are our meeting room users. So these are things like townhome associations. We have a lot of Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts that are coming in before hours or after hours, particularly on weekends. And then oddly enough, I gotta give a shout out here, it's the MMA, which is not mixed martial arts. It's the Minnesota Merrilee Association. This is a group of Indian residents in Minnesota. I found this out because I actually had to look up what MMA meant, from the southwestern coast of India, who use the library on a regular basis to do things like traditional dance classes or lessons. So we have a lot of Indian youth coming into the library after hours on Fridays and Saturdays who are learning how to do traditional Indian dance. All right, other highlights from this past year. The library visits 4 different senior residences in Burnsville every month. We bring probably about 5 or 6 boxes full of books to these residences so that seniors who can't make it to the library can check out books to read over the following month. In addition to this service, we also provide a books by mail service to residents who, for whatever reason, are just not able to get to the library, or perhaps they even struggle to get down to the meeting rooms where we do these on-site deliveries. We will mail materials to individuals either on a limited basis or on a part-time basis, depending on what the personal need is. But our staff are really happy to get out and visit some of the seniors in the community, and I think this has been a great way for us to connect with that particular population as well. Last year, we also introduced rotating play kits at all of our libraries. So if you can imagine a puppet stage where the artwork and the graphic changes out from month to month, and then the kids get to play with a different thematic series of toys over that month. Our puppet tree or puppet stage has been a school bus, it's been a kitchen, it's been a, good golly, it was a sewing business of some kind a few months ago. I think right now we might be a soccer field. But anyway, the imaginative play that we get to see with the kids when this product changes out every month has been really, really fun to watch. 2024 was also a year where we had an artist in residence at Dakota County. So the individual was Marlena Miles. She is an indigenous artist who taught classes at libraries all over Dakota County, kind of describing her own creative style, but also assisting others who wanted to learn the fundamentals of what it might be to either be an artist or to make a living as an artist. She was spectacular to have. Last item to mention, community engagement. As I mentioned earlier, the library tries to be out in the community as much as possible. Who you see in our photo here is one of our staff members, Muhammad. Muhammad was at the Somali Festival last year. Muhammad, among his many talents, is a former aquatic engineer from Somalia. He moved to the United States, is in the process of finishing up his certifications, his accreditations, and is currently enrolled in college here to get all of the necessary licensing and everything that he needs to have so that he can do more engineering work in the U.S. Until he gets to that point, he's working part-time for us at the library, and we're really lucky to have him. And then the really big news for 2026. The library, much like the city, is going to be going through some renovation. So in March of next year, we are going to be closing for 12 months. We are going to be reopening, hopefully, in March of 2027. So we just recently completed a resident survey where we asked individuals to identify what their priorities might be at the library for this new facility that we want to make sure that we're opening to serve the residents of Burnsville. Top response, no surprise, people want to see books in their library. I can guarantee that's still going to happen. We're not getting rid of the books. Children's area, people wanted to see more space for children in the library, so we're going to have to redesign some of the floor plan a little bit to make sure that we have enough space for children's activities. And then quiet spaces and study rooms. Again, as I mentioned, we have a lot of customers who visit the library just to use study spaces, just to use our meeting rooms. We're going to make sure that we're doing whatever we can to make those rooms as accessible as possible to our residents. And then the brief announcement here, 4 to 7 p.m., June 25th, I believe that's next Wednesday. Anybody here today is welcome to attend our open house to give their feedback to the first view of what is going to be the first iteration of the floor plans we're hoping to roll out here. Anybody watching from home, please, if you have the time and the occasion, stop by as well. We would welcome your feedback as well. That is everything I have, a short presentation tonight. Council members, are there any questions?
Mr. Luber, I do. What's going to happen when you're closed for that 12 months?
Very solid question. So typically in Dakota County, when one of the libraries closes, we anticipate that there's going to be an increase of traffic at the neighboring libraries. So the staff are typically divided out and farmed out to neighboring libraries. So the team in Burnsville will probably be sent to the libraries in Eagan, Apple Valley, and I'm assuming Lakeville, as we see traffic kind of moving to those locations. We're in the process right now, my team and I are drafting a service continuity plan to find out what kinds of things we can continue to offer in the Burnsville community that are independent of having a library facility. So this might be things like doing story times with a local community partner. I had a conversation with the executive over at the YMCA about possibly doing our homework help sessions at the YMCA, since I know they have a large group of teens there anyway. It seems like a great partnership. So other services that we provide throughout the year, like the AARP tax preparation services for senior citizens, we just need a room to find somewhere in the community where we can coordinate that and make that happen. So we are still going to be participating in all of the city events and activities that we can. Our staff will still be providing at least some measure of service to the Burnsville community, but unfortunately we're not going to have a physical library. We may have a temporary location where customers can reserve books and have them shipped into Burnsville for pickup, but that's probably going to be the extent of what we have for actual physical space.
So it's good to know that you're going to still participate in all of the different activities and festivals in Burnsville. You'll still have a presence.
Yes,
because it's been so important to our community, and people enjoy it. And you know that because you've experienced it. And so it's good to know that during that time that you're closed, you're still going to be a part of the community, only we will not have the physical location. So I take it that you're working with our team here at the city, with our engagement team on all of the things that's going on, so you're up to date on all of that.
Will do, yep.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Lupus? Yeah, Councilmember Keeley.
I was a little shocked to hear that you're going to be closed for a year. Is that common whenever the library undergoes a renovation, that it shuts down for that long?
It's a little unusual in our circumstance. So the library was remodeled, I think, the last time right before the Great Recession.
Yeah.
Some of the work that we normally would have had done, particularly as pertains to like the mechanicals in the library, didn't get addressed because our budget was cut due to the recession. So I think this is probably a bit more comprehensive a remodel than what we might have normally seen. On average, I think the county remodels libraries in like a 9 to 12-month cycle when they do close for business.
Sure. That's a long period of time. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. What happens with the motor vehicle services at the library?
So that's a great question, thank you. So the DMV at the library or in our facility is actually going to remain open for the entirety of the renovation process.
Oh.
So one of the challenges that we're working to address right now is how we're going to configure the parking lot to accommodate both construction vehicles, whatever vehicles we anticipate seeing at the DMV. But as things stand right now, the DMV will be open the entire time the library is closed.
Okay, well, that's good information for people to know.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, very good. Thank you, and I'm glad to hear. I know about the after-hour services because I've had people say to me that that has been a great benefit for some who use it after hours with because they work late hours and that they can still access the library.
It's very true.
Yeah, so thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming in. We really appreciate it. The next item on the agenda is citizens' comments. This is the opportunity for anyone in the audience to address the council on an item that is not on the printed agenda and not an application form that will be coming before us at a future date. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council? Anyone? Mrs. Collins, anyone online?
No one online, Madam Mayor.
Okay, members of the council, we will move on. The next item on the agenda is additions to the final agenda, and this is for emergency items only. City Manager Lindberg, are there any emergency items to come before the council?
Nothing from staff, Mayor.
Thank you. Members of the council? Okay, we will move on. The next item is the consent agenda. This is a group of items that's considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. However, an item on the consent agenda can be removed for a separate discussion and vote. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes an item on the consent agenda to be removed for a separate discussion and vote? Anyone? Mrs. Collins?
No one online, Mayor.
Okay, members of the council, does the council want an item to be removed?
No.
Mr. Lindberg, does staff have an item to be removed?
Nothing from staff, Mayor.
May I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. We are at the regular agenda. The first item on the regular agenda is the appointment to our advisory commissions. The city council conducted interviews on May 27th and on May 29th, and we had 37 applicants this year. So it has been our great pleasure to meet all of our wonderful residents who saw the advertisement and said yes to applying for these positions. So the first commission that we will be appointing is the Economic Development Commission. Councilmember Keeley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor is actually the liaison, but because she is presiding mayor, she assigned duties for the announcements to me tonight. So I am presenting the Economic Development Commission members. These are existing that re-upped and new members who applied that we have chosen. First is Vicki Anderson. She's going to move from alternate to a regular member with a term ending June of 2027. Laura Schmitz, a regular member with a term ending 6 of 28. Lynette Dunsworth will be a regular member with a term ending 6 of 28. New member Abdul Mursal, who's going to be a regular member with a term ending June of 27. Andre Winters, a regular member with a term ending June of 28. And Eric Witowski, an alternate with a term ending of June of 2027. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
May I have a motion to adopt the slate?
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. The next appointments are for our Parks and Natural Resource Commission, and Councilmember Kara Schultz is presenting that slate.
Thank you. We have Katerina Gomez, who's moving from an alternate to a regular member, and that term will end 6/27. Sarah Albrecht is a regular member, term ending on 6/28. Jennifer Dix, regular member, term ending 6/28. Frank Barr, alternate member. The term will end 6/27. Alexa Cornolo is a youth member. Term will end 6/26. And Jason Brewski, youth member, term ending 6/26. Very pleased that we have both of our youth member slots are filled in this commission. So that is a very positive thing, and I'm happy about that. And I will entertain a motion to adopt the slate.
So moved.
There's a motion and a second. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, second, sorry.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. Thank you. And then we now have the slate for the Planning Commission, and Councilmember Workman is going to present that slate.
Thank you. Very difficult task this year with all of our commissions. We had an incredible amount of people, and of those that applied, I don't think one person walked out of there without us impressed with what we had just seen. So I would like to move to appoint Jason Lowe as a regular member, term ending 6 of 2028, and Jeff Long, regular member, term ending 6 of 2028 as well.
Second the motion.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, say nay. And congratulations to all of our new commissioners and our existing commissioners that are continuing to serve. Thank you so much for your service to our community. And now we will go on to the next item on the agenda, and that is the review and to accept the 2024 Annual Comprehensive Financial Statement and Audit Report from our independent auditor. And presenting this evening and giving us the introduction to our principal auditor is our Deputy City Manager and CFO, Jennifer Rohde.
Right. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Tonight, we're here to review the results of the annual audit. The auditors recently completed their work on that. Staff from finance and across the city really have put a lot of work into this process, and I just want to say thanks for all their work on the audit and preparation of the financial statements and getting us here tonight. So I just want to make sure I recognize all the work on both sides that goes into this. Jackie Hegel, a principal from LB Carlson, is here tonight to present the audit results and some other financial information. So with that, I'll turn it over to her.
Okay. And welcome back, Ms. Hegel. It's good
Thank
to
you.
see you, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, good evening, Mayor and members of the council, and thank you for having me tonight to present the audit results for the year ended December 31st, 2024. As you see, we'll walk through the presentation here, but it is all very good and positive audit results. This first slide here just summarizes a little bit of my role as an auditor. As an auditor, I'm here to issue an independent audit opinion on that city financial statement. As part of that process, we also issue an opinion on that schedule of expenditures of federal awards. So in the current year, the city did expend more than $750,000 in federal funding. So there's a separate audit, it's called a single audit of specifically the federal awards. In the current year, the city's CFA, that schedule of expenditures of awards was about 3.2 million. The grant that was audited was the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds, which is about 3 million. So it's the majority of that CFA. As part of our audit then, we also review the internal controls and the compliance over that financial statement audit with that federal single audit, as well as with the Minnesota legal compliance audit. So, and with that legal compliance audit, I was just gonna say each year the Office of the State Auditor releases that legal compliance manual. In some years, the statutes change from year to year for what we test, and then some are also consistent from year to year. For the audit results over that financial statement audit, we issued an unmodified or a clean opinion on that basic financial statement. That is the opinion you are looking for as part of the audit process. If you're reading that opinion, you're going to see in the current year, the city was required to implement a new GASB standard. This GASB statement number 101 related with compensated absences. All that did was, as part of that, it changed the recognition and the measurement of how local governments now are recording and reporting their compensated absences liability on their financial statement. It didn't have a real big impact, but a change in accounting principle, which was increasing your liability about $340,000. So you are going to see that if you're reading your financial statement singled out in there. As part of the audit results, then over that internal control and compliance portion of the financial audit, you're going to see all clean opinions, no findings in internal control, and no instances of noncompliance. For the audit results in the current year related with that Minnesota legal compliance audit, you'll see we do have one comment here to report relating with the payment of invoices. And just making sure that all your disbursements throughout the city are being paid within that 35-day payment period, which is a state statute. As part of our testing, we did identify some instances that weren't in compliance with that. So just making sure the disbursements are all being paid timely. For the audit results and over that single audit of federal awards, you're going to see all clean opinions, clean opinion on that CFA, and also no internal control and no compliance findings to report with the grant we tested. Moving on then, the next several slides, I'm going to go more into some of the financial results of the city for the 2024 year, starting with this table summarizes all the governmental funds of the city, showing that change in that fund balance from 2023 to 2024. Overall, the governmental funds, you saw an increase in fund balance of about 9.8 million. If you look at the top portion of that table, it shows it by what we consider the classification of fund balance, starting with the non-spendable dollars, what's restricted, down to the unassigned dollars. Majority of the increase you're seeing is in assigned fund balances. A lot of that is dollars that are assigned for equipment and vehicles, as well as some park renovation and investments. The unassigned fund balance increase of about 3 million. A majority of that is in that general fund, as well as in that improvement construction fund. And that's offset then by those restricted fund balance. You saw a decrease of about 2.8 million. And most of that was due to the one-time public safety funds that the city received in the prior year and spent down some of that funds in the current year. This next graph here summarizes the general fund financial position of the city, showing that fund balance, the cash balance, and the expenditures for the past 5 years. Overall, the cash and investment balance in the general fund increased about 4.3 million. And if you're looking at the fund balance in the general fund, it ended the year at about 38 million, saw an increase of about 3.5 million from the prior year. If you look just specifically at December 31st, 24, that fund balance represents about 62% of subsequent years' general fund budgeted use of funds. So that is in line with the city's fund balance policy at year end 2024. Next graph here summarizes the general fund revenue. It shows specifically budget to actual. If you're looking at the revenues current year compared to 2023, you did see an increase in general fund revenues of about 3.2 million. Most of that was in the tax revenue portion. When you're looking at this graph here, it compares the budget to actual. Overall, those general fund revenues were pretty close to budget, ended the year about 400,000 over the final budget. Some variances you're seeing in that graph there, that other revenue area, that is mostly investment earnings coming in better than anticipated. Intergovernmental revenues also came in more than anticipated. And then that was offset by charges for services. You're seeing that under budget about 600,000, mainly in the engineering services and the emergency management services. Next graph, then similar information, just showing the general fund expenditures, comparing the budget to actual. Overall, for the 2024 year, the general fund expenditures ended the year about 1.9 million under budget. It was spread across various departments. The two that probably had the most significant variances were your general government function was under budget about 1.1 million. Most of that was spread across various departments due to vacant positions. And then you also saw that public safety function also under budget, and that was also mostly due to vacant positions in the current year. When you look at your general fund expenditures comparing current year to prior year, you saw an increase of about 6 million. Most of that is in that public safety function. We saw an increase there with some added positions in the police and fire departments as part of an organizational analysis. And you also saw some increased costs in the general government function as well. Moving on then, these next from here, moving to the next several slides, summarize the enterprise funds of the city. So those are those business type activity funds that the city has and the utility funds. This is a snapshot of all those enterprise funds combined, showing that change in that financial position. So overall, you saw a decrease in net position of your enterprise funds, about 2.5 million. If you look at the top portion, most of that is the net investment in capital assets. And some of that is just due to the timing of the depreciation on the assets. As you're adding assets, they're being depreciated. And also timing of when the debt on, in the enterprise fund is being paid. I have a graph then on each of the different enterprise funds, just showing some operating results for the past 5 years, starting here with that water and sewer fund. Overall, you saw a very healthy financial position in this fund for 2024 and for the past 5 years. The operating revenue saw a slight increase of about 100,000. And you also saw your operating expenses going up, mostly in personnel service costs and the sanitary sewer disposal costs. If you look, that green line shows the operating income or loss, showing a loss of about 1.4 million. But I want to point out that purple line then shows when you exclude the depreciation expense. So when you exclude depreciation expense, you're seeing an operating income of about 1.9 million. This graph summarizes the stormwater fund. Once again, had some positive operations for the current year. You saw an increase in the operating revenues, mostly due to an approved rate increase in 2024. You also saw then your operating expenses increasing in that personnel service costs and some additional repairs and maintenance in the current year. Ended the year though with operating income when you exclude that depreciation of about 1.3 million. Graph shows activity of the Ames Center for the past 5 years. Overall, the revenues compared to prior years saw a decrease in revenues. Most of that was due to, in the prior year, the city received some employee retention tax credits in 2023 that weren't received in 2024. So you saw a little decrease in the revenues there. And then offsetting some expenses, increasing mainly in contracted labor. So overall, when you exclude that depreciation, you saw operating income of about 150,000. This graph of the ice arena fund. Operating revenues are going up slightly with the increased rentals in 24. You're also seeing some increases in those operating expenses. And when you exclude that depreciation, you're seeing some positive operations, operating income of about 55,000. Golf course fund. Once again, your revenues there, you're seeing increase slightly, just more rounds of golf being played in the 24 year compared to prior year. And you saw your operating expenses decrease slightly. So overall, you had an operating income of about 36,000, and when you exclude the depreciation, saw operating income of about 70,000. And the last enterprise fund is the streetlight utility fund. Overall, you saw operating revenues were very consistent with 2023. Your expenses, though, you did see an increase of about 200,000. Most of that was due to some repair and maintenance costs in the current year. So when you look at your operating income excluding that depreciation, that purple line, you saw about 26,000, 27,000 in operating income. And the last slide I have here, this summarizes what we consider the statement of net position. So as a local government, you have all the different funds of the city and they roll up into one entity-wide net position presentation. This is a full accrual statement where it summarizes all your capital asset activity of the city as well as all your long-term liabilities. So any pension liabilities are included in the snapshot. So when you're looking at that summary of net position, you saw an increase in net position of about 16.6 million. If you look at that top portion of the graph showing the governmental activities, net investment in capital assets is going up. That's with the continued investment in the infrastructure throughout the city. And then the unrestricted, you're seeing the significant increase, and that's just due to the improved financial position in the general fund and the various non-major governmental funds throughout the city. So with that, I can open it up if there are any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Hagel?
I have none.
Councilmember Keeley.
The one finding seems very marginal, which is good. My question is, were the two that you found that were paid after the 35 days, were there any abnormalities related to that, like bill was lost in the mail, so it had to be re-requested, or holiday period, or, you know, we didn't have a meeting, anything that would have created a scenario where two bills got beyond that 35 days?
Yeah, so I think as part of the testing, there might have even been a couple more than two, and a couple were able to be explained, just like you said. There was documentation as far as, you know, they didn't make it to the finance or they were not received. These I can't speak to specifically, but there was no documentation other than they weren't paid timely. So we do recommend, you know, if there is reasons like that, to make sure that the city keeps documentation on file, so that is available throughout the audit process.
We just went through a period of time where there was a lot of missing mail coming through our post office and a lot of complaints by a lot of people throughout the city. And so when you don't get a bill, it takes a while to realize, even in a business that gets one every month, that something's missing, and then request it, which can burn time. You know, in that 35 days, there's weekends, there can be some holidays, so it can happen, but pretty darn good report outside of that.
Right, yeah.
That's pretty acceptable.
Yep. I think it's a clean audit, and so I thank you for that. But one of the things that, just to get to the point that you raised, Councilmember Keeley, and I can go to our staff, Ms. Rhodey, yes, because if you have seen that our staff, for next steps and what we're doing to make sure that our staff is on top of this so we are in compliance with all of this, Ms. Rhodey, and also I just saw that Burnsville University is having another class on all of this, so I bring it to you to talk more about the steps that staff is taking to make sure that we are in compliance. And yeah, we have no control over when the mail doesn't deliver an invoice. But we do have control over the things that we do, and I appreciate what I see in the reports, whether it's in Council Weekly or in the Burnsville University, what you're doing for next steps. So please let our community and everybody know.
Yep, certainly. As a reminder, we've sent out training advisor to the organization just to remind everybody, especially purchasers, of what our statutory requirements are around timely payment of invoices. So sometimes too, you have new staff, and it's always good to get those things out there. So also, we do annual purchasing training that's required for all purchasers, so that's certainly something we'll make sure we spend time on this year too. And as Jackie said, you know, anytime there is a kind of an explainable abnormality, we just encourage staff to document that on the invoice too. It makes it easy when the auditors are doing their testing. They can see that, and that, you know, oftentimes there is a reason, but sometimes it's just oversight. And in that case, in this case, we have two findings this year. But again, we're encouraging, you know, managers to talk to staff and just make sure everybody's aware of the timing requirement.
Thank you. And City Manager Lindberg, and also Mrs. Rhodey, thank you, because with all the corrective actions and that you're on top of all of these things on an operational side. So we don't take it for granted just because it's a minor issue. It doesn't mean that we don't pay attention to it. So I really appreciate everything that staff is doing to make sure that everybody knows that we need to be in compliance, even if it's only 2 or 3. We will be in compliance. Thank you so much. But it's good for our community to know about that. Okay. Any other comments? For staff and for the work that you do, thank you. Because of that work, we have a clean audit. And so thank you so much. We really appreciate it. So the next step is that you're going to send this to GFOA. And then, like usual, in the last 27 years or 28 years, we've had an award for our financial and budgeting
Correct.
reports.
Yep. We'll send that before the end of the month, and, yeah, I think it's 28, 29?
29, yeah, because I remember when we first started to send it to GFOA. Yeah, so,
Ironic that you've been here as mayor 30 years, and for 28 out of those,
Yeah.
we've had a perfect record.
yeah,
I'm sure
perfect
that's just
reports. It's just following the rules.
Right.
Following the rules, yeah. So thank you so much.
All right, thanks.
Okay. So, members of the council, I need a motion to accept the audit report.
Move to approve.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. And the motion carries. Thank you. And the next item on the agenda is a closed session for the city council on our security briefing. So this portion of the meeting will be closed pursuant to Minnesota statute, section 13D. .05 subdivision 3D, and that is to discuss security systems and emergency procedures at City Hall, at Burnsville City Hall. So may I have a motion to close the meeting, please?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay, and a motion carries. We will now go into a closed session. And to everybody else, thank you for coming and being with us this evening. Need a motion to open the meeting? So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. Thank you, everyone. And now, there are no other items to come before us
Move to
this
adjourn.
evening, and a motion
Second.
to adjourn. A motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. Good night, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you.